All right, listeners, let's get ready for a deep dive into some pretty intense tech today.
Sounds good.
We're going to be looking at the world of industrial computing, specifically something called the IMD190-W200-I3.
Okay.
This is not your everyday laptop. We're talking heavy-duty machinery, factory floors, the kind of places where your average computer just wouldn't last.
Right.
And to guide us on this deep dive, we're going straight to the source, the product manual itself. So what exactly makes this 19-panel PC so incredibly tough? And maybe even more interesting, what could you actually do with a machine like this?
Yeah, that's the real question, isn't it? And what's interesting is that it's not just about being tough, it's about being able to perform reliably, even in really challenging environments.
Right. And looking at the specs here, one of the first things that jumps out at me is this IP65 rating. Now, I got to admit, that doesn't really mean a whole lot to me at first glance. Can you break that down for us? What are we actually talking about here?
Yeah, so IP stands for ingress protection,
Right.
which is basically just a way of saying how well sealed something is against things like dust and water.
Okay.
So the 6 in this case means that it's completely dust tight, like no tiny particles are getting in there to mess with the electronics.
Wow.
And then the 5 means it can handle water jets from any direction.
So you're telling me I could take this thing out in the middle of a rainstorm and it would just keep running?
Well, I don't know if I'd recommend that. But yeah, it's designed to withstand some pretty serious moisture.
That's incredible. So picture this. You're in a dusty workshop, maybe even outdoors.
Yeah.
And this computer just keeps chugging along. No worries about spills, no worries about grime,
Exactly.
plus no delicate keyboard to get all clogged up either. It's all touchscreen.
Right. And it's not just about dust and water either. Take a look at the operating temperature range. -10 degrees to 60 degrees C.
Whoa.
That's a pretty extreme spectrum for electronics.
Yeah, that's like Siberian winters to desert summers.
Exactly.
And this thing is designed to handle it all. That kind of resilience has got to be a game changer for folks working in those kinds of environments. But how does it stay cool in those really hot temperatures? I'm seeing here it has a fanless cooling system. Isn't that kind of unusual?
It is. Most computers rely on fans for cooling, which of course are susceptible to dust and all sorts of other environmental factors.
Right.
But this panel, PC, it uses this really clever combination of its design and heat-dissipating materials to stay cool.
So they've engineered a way to keep things running smoothly without having to rely on a component that could potentially fail in a harsh environment.
Exactly.
Pretty smart. Now let's talk about processing power. The manual lists a few different Intel Core i3 options.
Okay.
Are those like the top-of-the-line, most powerful processors out there?
Well, the i3 might not be the absolute fastest chip on the market, but they strike a really good balance between performance and energy efficiency.
Okay.
And in an industrial setting, that's actually crucial. You need consistent performance without drawing a ton of power.
That makes a lot of sense. It's about choosing the right tool for the job, not necessarily the biggest and most powerful one. So what about memory and storage? Looks like we've got up to 64 GB of RAM and a 512 GB SSD.
Yeah, that's pretty substantial. Plenty for running those demanding industrial software programs, storing large amounts of data, and just generally handling complex tasks.
Okay, now this is where it gets really interesting to me,
Yeah.
because I'm looking at the list of connection options here, and it's pretty extensive. We've got USB 2.0, 3.0, LAN, HDMI, VGA, even something called RS-232. I got to be honest, I'm not even sure what that last one is.
So RS-232 is a type of serial communication interface. It's commonly used in industrial automation.
Oh.
Basically allows the PC to communicate with older equipment or devices that might not use the more modern connections like USB or Ethernet.
Ah, so they've built in options for backwards compatibility.
Exactly.
Very clever. It seems like they really thought of everything someone might need to connect to this thing on a factory floor.
Yeah.
But it doesn't stop there. There's a whole section here on optional components, too.
Yeah, they've really gone all out on the customization options. You can add things like Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, even an industrial terminal connector.
So you can really tailor this PC to fit your specific needs and your specific environment.
Absolutely.
But there's one more thing that really jumps out at me in these specs, and that's the 724H operation node.
Right.
What does that tell us about this machine?
That tells us that this panel PC is built for serious reliability. It's meant to be running constantly, which is essential in a lot of industrial settings where downtime can be really costly.
Right, so we're not just talking about a computer here. We're talking about a workhorse,
Yeah, I think that's a good way to put it.
a machine that's designed to be on the job 24/7, 365,
Exactly.
handling those critical tasks without missing a beat. Now, that's impressive.
It is.
But I'm curious, beyond just the technical specs, What does the manual tell us about the actual physical design of this panel PC?
Well, let's take a look. It mentions a durable aluminum alloy frame with an ultra-slim profile.
Okay, so we're talking about something that's both tough, but also compact.
Exactly. You get the strength and resilience you need for an industrial environment, but in a space-saving design.
And that's got to be key, because space is often at a premium, whether you're on a factory floor or in a control room.
Right. You need something that's tough but doesn't take up a lot of space.
Exactly.
And the manual goes on to mention reinforced corners and a scratch-resistant screen.
So they've really thought about the realities of an industrial environment, where things might get bumped or jostled or exposed to abrasive materials.
Yeah, they've definitely designed this thing to take a beating.
It sounds like this PC is built like a tank. You could probably drop it and it would just keep on running.
Oh, I don't know about that.
But it's good to know it's that durable. But speaking of resilience, I noticed something else interesting here. It has a SIM card interface.
Oh, yeah.
Now, that's not something you typically see in a standard industrial computer.
No, it's not. And it opens up a lot of possibilities. Well, it means this panel PC can actually connect to cellular networks
Oh, wow.
for data transmission.
So even in remote locations, where traditional internet access might be unreliable,
Right.
this thing can stay connected.
Exactly.
So we're talking about monitoring equipment in remote oil fields, controlling traffic signals in areas with limited infrastructure, even gathering data from weather stations in harsh environments.
It really expands the horizons of what's possible.
That's incredible.
And it's not just about connectivity. This PC is also really versatile in terms of software.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, the manual lists a whole range of operating systems it can run,
Like what?
from Windows to Linux distributions like Ubuntu and CentOS.
So it's not locked into any specific software ecosystem?
Nope.
Users have a lot of flexibility to run the applications they need for their particular industry.
Exactly.
And I imagine those optional components we talked about earlier, like the Wi-Fi and Bluetooth, those further expand its capabilities.
Absolutely. It can integrate seamlessly into all sorts of systems.
Yeah. It's amazing how much they've packed into this machine. We've talked about the tough exterior, the powerful components. But what about the user interface? After all, someone actually has to interact with this thing.
That's a good point. Well, it boasts a 19-inch screen with a resolution of 1280 by 1024,
Okay.
which is pretty decent for an industrial setting. It ensures clear visuals for monitoring data, controlling processes, and just generally interacting with the system.
And we can't forget about the touchscreen functionality. No need for a bulky keyboard and mouse, especially in tight spaces
Right.
or environments where hygiene might be a concern.
It's all about streamlined functionality and ease of use, even in demanding conditions.
What really impresses me is the attention to detail. Like I'm seeing here, it has an RTC real-time clock and timing switch.
Oh, yeah?
It might seem like a minor feature, but it shows that they've really thought about the practicalities of using this thing in an industrial setting.
Absolutely.
So even if there's a power interruption, the
Yeah.
PC can maintain accurate timekeeping, which is crucial for all sorts of things. Scheduling tasks, automating processes, ensuring data integrity,
It's those little details that really make a difference.
especially in a mission-critical environment.
Exactly.
This level of reliability and precision, it's just paramount in these kinds of applications. But you know what's really fascinating to me is that this panel PC, it seems to embody a much larger trend that we're seeing in industrial technology.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
What do you mean?
Well, it seems like there's this shift away from generic one-size-fits-all solutions and a move towards these specialized systems that are really tailored to specific tasks and environments.
You're absolutely right. We are seeing that.
So instead of just trying to adapt consumer tech for industrial use, companies are now designing and building machines specifically for these unique demands.
Exactly.
That's a big shift.
It is. And I think it's being driven by this increasing need for ruggedness, reliability, and customization across a wide range of industries.
Right.
I mean, think about it. We expect our smartphones and tablets to be tough, powerful, and always connected. And now those same expectations are being applied to the machines that keep our factories running, our infrastructure functioning, our resources flowing.
That's a great point. It's like the industrial world is finally catching up to the consumer world
Yeah, in a way.
in terms of these technological advancements.
Exactly. And it's leading to some really exciting innovations.
Like what?
Well, we're seeing more advanced materials being used, more efficient cooling systems, and more sophisticated software options being incorporated into these machines.
So the result is a new generation of industrial equipment.
Right.
That's tougher, Smarter.
and more adaptable than ever before.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here. From the really technical stuff, like those IP ratings, to the broader trends that are shaping the landscape of industrial computing. But for our listeners out there who might be thinking, okay, this is all cool tech, but what does it actually mean for me? What are the key takeaways here?
Well, I think the biggest takeaway is that this isn't just a computer. It's a purpose-built tool that's designed for demanding jobs.
Oh,
It can handle harsh environments, it can operate reliably around the clock, and it can connect to a wide range of industrial equipment.
right.
This isn't your average desktop PC. This is a workhorse
Yeah.
that's ready to tackle the toughest challenges.
And it's not a one-size-fits-all solution either. With all the customization options, you can really tailor this panel PC to your specific needs.
Absolutely.
Whether you're monitoring a complex manufacturing process,
Yeah.
controlling critical infrastructure in a remote location,
Mm-hmm.
or gathering data in extreme conditions, this machine has the potential to really revolutionize the way you work.
It really does.
And that brings me to my final thought for our listeners today. Given all the potential applications we've discussed and the flexibility that this technology offers, what creative uses can you envision for this rugged piece of tech? Where would you put it to work?
That's a great question.
We've only scratched the surface here of what's possible with this kind of industrial-grade hardware. And as technology continues to evolve, at this ever-increasing pace, who knows what incredible applications we'll see emerge in the years to come.
I completely agree. It's a really exciting time to be following the developments in industrial computing. The possibilities are truly limitless.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the world of industrial panel PCs. We hope you found it informative and maybe even a little bit inspiring. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep pushing the boundaries of what's possible.
Absolutely.
It's amazing to think about this thing just running 24/7,
Yeah.
handling those critical tasks without missing a beat. Talk about a workhorse. But I'm curious, beyond just the tech specs, what does the manual actually tell us about the physical design of this panel PC?
Well, it actually highlights a couple of things. It talks about a durable aluminum alloy frame.
Yeah.
And an ultra-slim profile.
So it's tough, but also compact.
Yeah, exactly. You get the strength and resilience you need for those industrial settings. But it's also space-saving.
Which is key, because space is often at a premium on factory floors and in control rooms.
Right. You need something that's tough, but that doesn't take up a ton of space.
Exactly.
And the manual goes on to mention reinforced corners and a scratch-resistant screen.
Oh, wow.
So they've really thought about those real-world conditions.
Where things might get bumped or jostled around
Yeah.
or exposed to abrasive materials.
Yeah. They've designed this thing to take a beating.
It sounds like this PC is built like a tank,
Well, maybe not literally.
but it's definitely durable.
Mm.
Speaking of resilience, though,
Yeah.
notice something else interesting here. It has a SIM card interface.
Oh, yeah, that's a cool feature.
Now, that's not something you typically see in a standard industrial computer, is it?
No, you're right. That's not very common.
And it opens up a lot of possibilities, doesn't it?
It does.
Like what?
Well, it means this panel PC can actually connect to cellular networks
Wow.
for data transmission.
So even in remote locations,
Well,
where traditional internet access might not be reliable
mhm.
or even available, this thing can stay connected.
Exactly.
So we're talking about things like monitoring equipment in remote oil fields,
Mhm.
controlling traffic signals in areas with limited infrastructure, even gathering data from weather stations in harsh environments.
It really expands the horizons of what's possible with this kind of technology.
That's pretty mind-blowing.
It is. And it's not just about the connectivity either. This PC is also incredibly versatile in terms of the software it can run.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, the manual lists a whole range of operating systems.
Like what kind of operating systems?
Well, everything from Windows to Linux distributions like Ubuntu and CentOS.
Wow. So it's not locked into any specific software ecosystem.
Nope. It gives users a lot of flexibility.
Right. They can run whatever applications they need for their specific industry.
Exactly.
And I imagine those optional components we talked about earlier,
Right.
like the Wi-Fi and the Bluetooth, those further expand its capability.
Absolutely. They allow it to integrate into all sorts of different systems.
We've talked about the tough exterior. We've talked about the powerful components. But what about the user interface? After all, someone actually has to interact with this machine.
That's a really good point. Well, it has a 19-inch screen with a resolution of 1280 by 924,
Okay.
which is pretty standard for an industrial setting. It ensures clear visuals for monitoring data, controlling those processes, and just generally interacting with the system.
And of course, we can't forget about the touchscreen functionality. No need for a bulky keyboard and mouse,
Eeh.
especially in tight spaces
Right.
or in environments where hygiene is a concern.
Exactly. It's all about streamlined functionality
Yeah.
and ease of use, even in those demanding conditions.
And I'm really impressed by the attention to detail here. Like, for example, it mentions an RTC real-time clock and timing switch,
Oh, yeah.
which might seem like a minor feature,
Yeah.
but it shows that they've really considered those practicalities of using this thing in an industrial setting.
It does. They've thought of everything.
So even if there's a power interruption, the PC can maintain accurate timekeeping, which is crucial for so many things. Scheduling tasks,
Yeah.
automating processes,
Yeah.
ensuring data integrity,
It's those small details that can really make a big difference.
especially in a mission-critical environment.
Absolutely.
This level of reliability and precision,
Yeah.
it's just paramount in these kinds of applications.
It really is.
But you know what's really fascinating to me? Is that this panel PC, it kind of embodies this larger trend that we're seeing in industrial technology.
Interesting.
Yeah.
What do you mean?
Well, it seems like there's this shift away from generic one-size-fits-all solutions and a move towards these more specialized systems that are tailored to specific tasks and environments.
You're right.
So instead of just trying to adapt consumer tech for industrial use, companies are now designing and building machines specifically for these unique demands.
Yeah, I think that's a really important point.
It's a big shift.
It is, and I think it's being driven by this increasing need for ruggedness, reliability, and
Oh, yeah.
customization across a wide range of industries.
It is a big shift. And
Yeah.
it makes sense when you think about it. I mean, we expect our smartphones and tablets to be tough these days.
Right.
And powerful.
Yeah.
And always connected. So why shouldn't we expect the same from the machines that are keeping our factories running, our infrastructure functioning,
Right.
our resources flowing?
Yeah, exactly. And it's really leading to some exciting innovations in this space.
Like what kind of innovations are we talking about?
Well, for one thing, we're seeing more advanced materials being used, things that can really withstand those harsh conditions.
Okay.
We're also seeing much more efficient cooling systems. So these machines can operate at peak performance without overheating.
Right.
And of course, the software is becoming more and more sophisticated, allowing for greater customization and control.
So what we're seeing is a new generation of industrial equipment
Exactly.
that's tougher, smarter, and more adaptable than ever before.
That's a great way to put it.
All right. So we've covered a lot of ground here today. We've talked about those really technical details, like those IP ratings and all the different connection options. But we've also touched on some of the broader trends that are shaping industrial computing as a whole.
Right.
But for our listeners out there who might be thinking, okay, this is all cool tech, but what does it actually mean for me? What are the key takeaways here?
I think the biggest takeaway is that this isn't just any computer. This is a purpose-built tool. It's designed for really demanding jobs.
Right.
Jobs where reliability and performance are absolutely essential. It can handle harsh environments, operate reliably around the clock, and connect to a wide range of other equipment.
So this isn't your average desktop PC.
No, it's not.
This is a workhorse that's ready to tackle the toughest challenges.
Exactly.
And the beauty of it is it's not a one-size-fits-all solution. With all the customization options that are available, you can really tailor this panel PC to fit your specific needs. So whether you're monitoring a complex manufacturing process, controlling critical infrastructure in a remote location, or gathering data in some really extreme conditions, this machine has the potential to completely revolutionize the way you work.
It really does.
And that brings me to my final thought for our listeners today. Given all the potential applications we've discussed and the flexibility that this technology offers, what creative uses can you envision for this rugged piece of tech? Where would you put it to work?
It's an interesting question to think about.
We've only scratched the surface here today of what's possible with this kind of industrial-grade hardware.
Right.
And as technology continues to evolve at this breakneck speed,
Yeah.
I'm sure we'll see even more amazing applications emerge in the years to come.
I have no doubt about that. It's a really exciting time to be following these developments. The possibilities really are limitless.
Well, that's all the time we have for today's deep dive into the world of industrial panel PCs. We hope you found it informative and maybe even a little bit inspiring. As always, thanks for listening, and we'll catch you next time.
See ya.